Hi, this is 365801, and this is the start of another buddy read with Katie. So this is for May, and this is going to be one that I've actually had my eye on for a while. It's another little short one because last month was so hellish. And it's No Touching at All by Yoneda. But it's also, if I can get the next drawer open as well, Even So, I Will Love You Tenderly. These two are kind of a set by Yoneda because one of the characters who's in this one ends up being the main character in this one. It is a classic spin-off story, but not necessarily in the classic spin-off way. As this was getting published, she was creating, and while she was doing other works, she was creating some doujinshi based on this character who ended up, Onoda, who ended up getting quite a lot of love from the fans of this No Touching at All. And ended up, she decided to do a couple of doujinshi, and they just blew up. They were like so popular. Everyone loved them. They wanted more, that kind of thing. And then she did, and she added more, and she added more, and then eventually she added a couple of extra chapters, and it became its own volume. And so we were lucky enough to be able to get both of these, because I don't know when exactly this was published, but this one was significantly later. It might be at the back, it's probably at the front. It's one of those, as you can see, the size of it. So this is October 2015. But in Japan, it was 2014. So it's not that, it's a very quick turnaround, which is great. And lovely colour artwork. But as you can see, this one still has its plastic on. I've never actually opened it because I have a digital copy on my Kindle that I can read at any point in time. And I could still do that, but I kind of want to take the plastic off. I know you're screaming at the, I know you're screaming right now. You're like, just read the digital. But I kind of want to read the physical. That's the point of these videos. Because I can be like, yeah, I've read it. Because I know I've read it. This is a reread for me. This month is a reread for me. I'm happy. But I've actually had this in my mind, like, I really want to read these two together and sit down and enjoy the experience. I'm not planning on getting rid of them at any point in time. And if I do lose resale value, that's only because June Manga isn't publishing, you know, incredibly popular titles. Here's hoping by the time this video comes out, it is republishing this, because there was a sneaky little teaser trailer type thing. I was like, hey, we might have a new little announcement about maybe some restocks, and I think it's going to be No Touching at All. So this might end up being advertising for June Manga. Hey, if you wanna shove some of those bucks that you still owe me back my way, that would be great. June Manga. Just in case you didn't know, I backed one of their Kickstarters up to around £400 worth. Yes. And because they're not fulfilling any of the tiers until they actually have them, so they're fulfilling the tiers as things come out, and I don't know when the final volume of whatever they are going to release will be released. I think it'll be another 5 years before I actually get it, which means it'll be well over 10 years. 10 years of them holding on to my money. Should I be giving them any free advertising? No. But do I love Yoneda? Yes. And unfortunately, Yoneda has almost all. She just has a couple things on Sublime. They're with June Manga. So I'm promoting Yoneda always and forever. Oh god, it's gonna be good. So I'm gonna take off the plastic, and I'm gonna read these two. It's not gonna be a long vlog, this one. I do plan on having my breakfast. Let's just take these over to some lovely looking breakfast. Oh, I'm so good to myself. I actually went to the shops yesterday to get some things, but I didn't manage to go early enough, so I do need to go back to the shops to pick up a few things that I will need. And while I was there, I got a breakfast sandwich, so I was like, that'll be great for breakfast. So I've got some grapes and some raspberries and some tomatoes. and a cup of coffee, and I will be reading No Touching at All. But I do need to go to the shops as well. So yeah, this is what today's vlog is, and I'm super excited about it. So I've just read the first chapter as an introduction, and I forgot Jocelyn Allen did the translation. Yay! She's so good. So you know you're in good hands, no matter what. On here we do have No Touching at All, Weekend, Section Chief, Yoneda's Depressed, and Before Dawn, which is all of the chapters. So it's just the first chapter of this one. Then we are introduced to a scene where something's obviously happened between the two of them, but then you actually go back in time to the point when they meet in the elevator. Shima, who is new to this company, and Togawa, who is the section chief, who ends up kind of being his boss, and their interactions, which are kind of interesting. There's a degree of respect, but there's also a degree of lack of respect there. It seems like a fairly good place in terms of Japanese workspaces because of the way people are. Although Togawa is constantly smoking, even though he's not supposed to be, it just doesn't cut it nowadays. I just wanted to show this panel, especially because look at that office space, proper little cubicles, and the size of those monitors. Boom! That is a proper desktop. Ooh, an oldie but a goodie. So as we could see, it was a 2010 publication, but obviously this is afterwards. So this is probably 2008, 2009 when it's being serialized. Back in the day, or even before that, I don't know. But it is quite interesting to see. There is a live action version of this, and I have seen bits of it, but I don't think I've sat and watched the whole thing, and I would like to now. Just the fact that I was reminded of it. And obviously at this point we get their night out, welcome dinner, and is it Takada says, where did you work before? And he mentions tag, and he asks if he got fired, and it kind of causes a bit of a moment. And then Togawa seems to be quite intrigued by Shima. I think Shima has that sort of aspect to him that makes certain men who may be bisexual interested, intrigued. Maybe it's something to do with how he looks. But this is a moment when he walks in and he's got a suit on, and I'm like, same Shima, same. There's something about a man in a suit that just gets you. And it's this whole thing when he's like, oh damn it, I'm a sexy straight man in a suit. And that's the thing about bisexuality. So the thing about bisexuality, yeah, sometimes you just don't see it coming. But Togawa is such an interesting character. He just has this way about him where he seems to be fairly comfortable with himself, no matter what. And you can see him being more and more intrigued by Shima, and more of a pest to him, to the point where he decides to take him out for dinner, and kind of spend time with him a bit more. And you can see it building in this just one little chapter, and it's actually a pretty great chapter, and it could have been just a one shot, and you kind of just get the whole story in this one chapter. And the kiss in the street, which is like kind of comes out of nowhere, but at the same time you can see the build up. So yeah, it ends with them being in an apartment kissing, and you're like, ooh. It is a lovely little intro into the story, but I've got a lot more to read. Ooh, I just got a couple of things in the post. I'll move these books out of the way. Yeah, we're just gonna open these. I'm just gonna do it. I think I know what's in them. I think they're what's left of my remaining order from Book Depository. I literally just emailed them yesterday saying, hey, they're like supposed to be here already. So yeah, I'll have to email them back saying got them. So I'm assuming this is it. So let's open these up. Whilst there is a cat meowing at me on the windowsill outside, as usual. Gosh, that cat is so loud. So yeah, you might be able to hear the cat in the background meowing away. Let's open this one first, because I think I know what this one is. So yeah, I did order these just before Book Depository went under. If it is, I think it is. Yes, it is. So this is Loveless Volume 12. Very happy about this one, because I had a few Loveless volumes. Oh, so nice. That I hadn't actually got yet. This is technically on hiatus. I know a lot of people have feelings about Loveless, but I actually want to do a proper read of it. I think it's got a lot to say. I think Yun Koga has a lot to say that's kind of interesting and weird and different. But I'd actually like to properly read it, because I remember watching the anime, and I think it's been about 2.5, maybe even 3 years since I read the volume 1-2 omnibus. So yeah, this is my volume 12. I'm very happy about this. So I think we check out what this one is. Let's see. Yeah, I think I know what this is. I can feel it. Ja-ja! This is The Titan's Bride Volume 2, because I don't have Volume 1. But this was a really good price for what it should have been. It was actually very, very good. So I do need to collect the rest of them. It's another 7 Seas. Like I said, last year I picked up hardly any 7 Seas titles. The year before that actually as well. So it's been one of those things that 7 Seas have been consistently putting things out, and I haven't been picking them up because they generally don't always go on sale for a great price. And you know what I'm like, I need a good price. So I've been picking them up either on sale or secondhand to get the best deal possible. So yeah, here we go. I know everyone, actually this has been getting quite good press, and it's been something that a lot of people who wouldn't normally gravitate towards BL or gravitate towards BL like this have been reading and giving generally positive views about, which is kind of interesting. Because it is one of those ones that that people would generally say negative things about. So I'm kind of intrigued about that, but I won't be able to read it because it's a volume 2. Like usual, I'm getting things out of order, not buying them as and when. My goal is to eventually get to the point where I can pre-order things, and having read everything that I own, that'd be great, wouldn't it? So yeah, these are my little haul. I'll add it to my May haul, which is already very big. It's not huge, but it's gonna be huger. It's already pretty big. Anyway, gonna I'm gonna put these on my pile. I think I'm just gonna get my socks and shoes on and go to the shops there because I want to have a wee wander around. Maybe we'll stop in the charity shops and see if there are any good books. You know, I love a good book. I love a good book, and add to my haul as well, as usual. So let's do that. Well, it started raining while I was out, even though it was a lovely sunny day. But now that I'm actually inside, it's properly chucking it down. So I got in just in time and got myself a couple rainy day reading snacks, some flapjack bites and some jelly babies. But because it suddenly got quite cold, I think I might have a wee plate or a cup of soup, something like that. I made some delicious chicken and rice soup, so I'll probably have that and then continue with my read. But yeah, no books from the charity shops, unfortunately. I did see Yanagihara's A Little Life, and I just thought, you know what? No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that, even if it's only £1 and it's a chunky book, so it's a little book for your money. I'm like, no. So no shots from the books in the charity shops, just because there really wasn't anything worth getting, unfortunately. Not anyway that I would want to read. That's gonna be an enjoyable read. So yeah, but at least I've got some nice snacks. So this is my chicken and rice soup. I've put some seeds in there as well, just for extra. But I've got big chunks of chicken and rice and carrots, and it tastes really good. I'm actually quite proud of it. I've got more stock and more chicken and things like that as well. So yeah, I'm gonna have a wee warming plate of soup because it has just got super chilly, and then I'll continue with reading, no touching at all. I'm not even sure. Maybe I'll just read this today and then I'll get the other one done tomorrow. But kind of want to just take my time and enjoy it, like the soup. So good. So yeah, I'll check in when I've read a little bit more. So I just finished the second chapter of No Touching at All, and it's really good. You get a bit of Shima's backstory, and you get a bit of Togawa's backstory, and you get this sort of real back and forth of the relationship they're having, kind of on the down low. Not letting people obviously at work find out, except for Onoda, who is just so good at picking up on things. So he kind of picks up on the fact that there's something going on between the two of them. But there's definitely a sense that Shima's wanting to pull back, whereas Togawa is still like pushing forward. So the relationship feels like an elastic band being stretched, and you don't know if it's going to be able to keep on being stretched or if it's going to snap back. It has that sort of tension to it. And the fact that Togawa invited himself over to Shima's place and then just snuggled up, spooning him, kissed him on the neck, and then went to sleep without doing anything. And it's like the absence of sexual action can be so much more intimate and like important, and what's the word, kind of weighty to the relationship. So much more. My mind's gone, but the word is somewhere out there. But it's really like oof. It gives me that oof feeling, because they didn't have sex. And Shima was convinced that it was like, okay, we'll have sex one last time, that'll be it, that's over. And instead, he's just like, snuggle up. So the fact that they're not actually having sex means so much more. So good. Yoneda cool. So good. So, this is kind of heartbreaking. We're at this, just the end of the third chapter. And, this is a good page to actually open up. So this is the trauma. This is the trauma that Shima's having to deal with. The fact that this relationship that he was with a straight man. I mean, I know they use straight and gay all the time because it's such by erasure. And I do think, just today, just in some like shorts and some reels and some other videos and stuff. I watched a couple this morning, and it was about kind of bi erasure, and it's like, I just, I really, I'm feeling it today, and I'm feeling it in this one as well. It's that whole, you're either one or the other, when in actual fact, these men are bisexual, but they can't admit that to themselves or society. Well, Togawa's pretty good about accepting it. He can accept it about himself. He's like especially in this one, when he says, "Oh yeah, it's only been 3 months and I've already licked your hole," which it just makes me laugh, because that's the kind of person he is. He's very, because of his past and his trauma, it is very much like, this is life and I'm gonna live it. That's why he smokes and drinks, and that's why, he saw Shima doing a cute face and kisses him, takes him home and has sex with him. Because it's like, I wanna live my life, Carpe diem, seize the day. Which is why he's got a completely different outlook to this guy, who hates the fact that he has harassed him, hates that he loves him, hates that he treats him badly because he loves him and because he's scared, and hates that he's a man and that he has fallen in love with a man. He hates it all. It's a negative for him. Whereas Togawa says the exact opposite, and that he's so happy that he met him. And it's just, it's just so sad at this point, because we know that Shima has had to deal with all of this trauma, in terms of, all he wants was, like he said in the beginning, he wanted to settle down. It's time for him to settle down. He just wanted to have a relationship with a man, and, go to work, come home, be with the person he wanted to be with, in a stable, loving relationship. That's all he wanted. And unfortunately, another bisexual awakening happened. But in this case, it's with Togawa, who is happy to have this relationship, and it has been actively pursuing the relationship in a more romantic way than just the sexual. And Shima has slowly been having to deal with the fact that he has his past trauma, and also the fact that, Togawa had said that he did want his own family because he likes kids. And that's another aspect. If you are a bisexual man, that's always a possibility for you. But if you're in love with a gay man, you want to be with the gay man, that's what you're going to do, especially in this society. I mean, this is 2010 in Japan. But then the heartbreaking thing is, at this point in time, Shima is actually getting to that emotional point where he can say what he wants, and that he wants more from Togawa. He wants to be in a relationship that is more. And we know the conversation that Togawa has just had at work, and it's like, oh, the timing. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking for the readers. It's heartbreaking for the readers. It's heartbreaking for me, because Togawa doesn't know the struggles that Shima's going through, and Shima doesn't know what's just occurred with Togawa, but we are privy to that. We're privy to it all, and it's like, oh. so Yoneda says, I choose violence. I choose violence today, and it's violence just for the reader. You're welcome. Anyway, going to carry on. So the fourth chapter is quite short compared to some of the others, but it does have quite a lot in it. Obviously, we have one of my favourite scenes, when the ex-boyfriend Shima has been harassing him by phoning him, and Togawa takes the phone and answers it, and then it's quite abusive to him on the phone, and he's just like, I always wanted to do that. And then the scene where he takes Shima out for lunch with all of the rumors going around, and you know what he's wanting to say, and then it still doesn't happen. And then the moment when he goes back and Shima bumps into Onoda, who's just like, oh, that's why, because he notices all these things and he knows Togawa, so he knows he would have taken him out to do it face to face and tell him in person about the transfer, and he didn't tell him, and so Onoda unfortunately sticks his foot in it, and it's like, oh, and the the pain of standing there and having someone tell you something that both they know and you know is utterly hurtful for you to have to hear, especially if it's about someone else. And that just takes me back to a point in time in my life I'm like, oh God. Because you have to stand there and pretend that someone hasn't just tilted the world on its axis and your insides are crumbling. You have to just stand there and have the facade of your exterior and hope that it doesn't show on your face how much it hurts inside. Oh God, Yoneda. Yoneda Ko is just so good. And then this moment when they are together and you're just like, oh, here it comes. It's the third act breakup. But it's so good because you are just like full of feelings about this. And the big moment. But this is what I like. It's been a long time. Like, I have read this many times before, but this is the point when I went, oh, this is Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth's scene. This is the scene where Mr. Darcy. I mean, I laughed out loud. It's an incredibly powerful, emotional scene, and I was pissing myself laughing because all I could think about was Mr. Darcy proposing to Elizabeth and doing an absolutely horrendous job of it. Because look at what he says. He says, "You're so cute." See, he kind of he does this whole thing about how it's almost like you're too cute for me to resist, and it's like that puts the onus on Shima as it's his fault. Anyway, he says, "You're so cute, I can't stand it. Even throwing in your terrible past and your gayness and everything, you're still so cute, I can't stand it." And all I could think about was, must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you. And then how he goes on about her want of connections and her lack of fortune and her absolutely horrendous family. Their lack of propriety. And I was just like, that's exactly what Mr. Darcy does. He says, "I love you." And then he says he wants to be together, even though these three things or multiple things are so terrible about you that makes you a terrible choice. And I'm like, dude, it didn't work for Mr. Darcy, and he had a fortune of 10,000 a year. And Togawa is just Togawa. And that he really does. Oh, and that's the other thing, like, that's the bombshell. Because Shima didn't know that Togawa knew about what happened to him. And so in doing so, he's then saying, yeah, I knew about this. And it's like, oh God. Well, it can't be helped. I went and fell in love with you. Like, it's Shogunai, ne? I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. This is a good line. "I have all these feelings for you." It's a nice line. He just says he can't, and that's it. And it's like, boom, third act breakup. I love it. It always happens. Even Yoneda Ko, she's like, it's a classic. It's a classic for a reason. But I just love that. That felt like the Darcy and Elizabeth Bennet scene, because it's exactly the same. I'm like, no, dude, it doesn't work like that. You gotta you gotta be really like a little bit more erudite. I don't know what's the word. Yeah, a little bit more. I don't know, loving in your proposal. Anyway, I'm gonna carry on. I'll probably finish this and then have something to eat. I might have some snacky things. So I just finished it. I did just read to the end. So it was quite a big chunky bit. Um, quite a big bit. And this is the bit I've got two things to say. So basically, one of them is the third act breakup is pretty horrific. Because they have this huge big argument bringing up things from their past, and then they have sex one last time. And it's sort of a throwaway comment. Well, if it's just sex, let's just do it one more time, kind of thing. And you're just like, oh no, don't do that. That's not gonna be. That's gonna be painful. Don't do it. And yet they do. And he just calls him an asshole, and it's like, but there's another thing here. This argument doesn't flow very well. So I'm going to bring up a point that I've already brought up, which is that this translation, and I can't believe I'm saying this because it's Jocelyn Allen, and you know I love Jocelyn Allen. It's Jocelyn Allen, who I love. But this translation doesn't flow as well as, I'm going to be honest, and I feel like it's important to be honest, the scanlated version. Because this is a 2010 publication. I'm not going to lie about my past. I'm an old lady. We read scans. I read scans. I have a huge fuck off collection of books because I've gone out my way to make sure I purchase these things. Because there is a part of me that's like, kind of feel bad about that. But also, that's what, I don't know, thousands and thousands and thousands of people did at that point in time. And it wasn't seen the same way as it is now. I do think that's also needs to be acknowledged. But the quality of this translation versus the scanlated one is not as good. It doesn't flow. It feels disjointed, and sometimes things don't connect. Whereas the person who was translating it for the scanlated version, I think maybe they took liberties, maybe they didn't, I don't know, but the English version flows. It's a lot better in the fluency aspect. It feels like a conversation that's naturally occurring in English, whereas this argument between the two of them feels like, that didn't make sense. It's not connected. And there's things about it that's very different. And that's another aspect, I'll maybe not show you the sex scene, to do when it comes to the fact that in Japanese there is a lack of pronouns and also subjects of sentences. So you don't know if the subject is this person or that person. And sometimes a sentence will be said and you have to kind of work out from which direction it's going. And that's the problem here with this one. So in this one, he's saying, you're an asshole. Do you blame it on me? Blame what? And then it's like, what, the relationship? But in the scanlated version, it's a lot clearer. It's a lot easier to understand. And when they talk about why they're breaking up, and then there's this bit, and she must cut his hair, which is such a thing that women do. They like to feel refreshed. And that's another word they say in this one. They say fresh, and it's like, no, refreshed, not fresh. So the translation, I'm sorry to say, it's actually one of Jocelyn Allen's, my least favourite Jocelyn Allen translation. Because it does not flow. And I can't say that I don't know how it feels to read this with a different translation, because I do. I remember it. I remember phrases. I remember words. I remember how things were, because this was so impactful the first time I read it. And also it made sense. I'm sorry. I feel so bad about saying this, but it actually doesn't always make sense. And this is the panel that got me, because it says, do you blame your past on me? And that's not what it was like in the scanlated version. It was about, are you telling me to blame my past? That was the whole thing. So in the argument, Shima is saying he doesn't want to be in a relationship with Togawa because Togawa wanted to have a family, he wanted to have kids, and the reason he wanted those things is because of the fact that he didn't have them when he was a child because of his horrific past and this trauma that he has. And so Shima's like, well, I can't be with this person long term because of this. And yet, this horrific past is the reason why he's saying, okay, you're moving to Kyoto. This is the time to break up. He's like, no, I love you. I want us to have this relationship. And he's saying, no, because we can't be together because you actually said you wanted to have a wife, you wanted to have kids. And the reason you wanted to have them is because of this awful, horrific, tragic past that you have. And he's saying to Shima, oh, we're breaking up because of my past. Do you want me to blame all of this on my past? That's what the scanlation was all about. Whereas here, he's saying, do you blame your past on me? And it's like, hold on, why would Shima be blaming the fact that he had a terrible relationship with some guy in another company on Togawa? Togawa's got nothing to do with that. It doesn't make sense. The translation doesn't make sense. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But this kind of ruins it. It's sad because I'm like, this doesn't make sense. And I don't know now, did the person who was translating the scanlation take lots of liberties and this is a more accurate representation of the Japanese? Or did Jocelyn Allen just do a translation that doesn't, but there's other things that just doesn't make sense. When he's like, when Onada's talking to him, he says things to him and I'm like, there's just bits that don't quite, I don't know, it didn't quite flow the same way, so it doesn't have the same feeling as the story. It just doesn't have the same feeling as the one I remember from back in the day when I read it scanlated, which is, understandable. Even this whole panel didn't flow. It didn't flow as well. And you came back easily enough. What does that mean, you came back easily enough? He's supposed to be in Kyoto. So what does that mean? You came back? None of this makes sense. It's not making sense. The English isn't making sense for the situation. Here's another one. Did you cut your hair to feel all fresh? Does that sound natural to you? Wouldn't you say to feel refreshed? I don't know, maybe that's just me. Like, I don't know, like in Japan they would change things around to give the room like a sense of refreshment, a feeling of refreshment. And that's the whole thing. Like, would you say all fresh to someone? Oh, are you feeling all fresh? Weird. I mean, and like, I don't know. It's just, this is one of the most awkward translations. If you had told me that this had been a machine translation, that's really saying something bad. That's bad. Anyway, the story is how I remember it. The bit that I love the most is when they're here and they've just had what was it? What did he say? It was shabu shabu, and he kisses him on his beauty mark, his sexy mole. And it's just, oh, so cute. And then Onoda being all like, feeling a bit like maybe he own up to Togawa that he has feelings for him. It's a lovely story. I do enjoy it, but this particular translation is not it. I know. Oh, pitchforks at dawn. I'm so sorry. It's a beautiful book. It's gorgeous artwork. I'm really happy, but in terms of the translation, what I am interested to do now is to watch the live action drama version and see what they do, and obviously to watch it with subtitles. and to listen to the Japanese that's used on the screen, because obviously I can understand quite a lot of the Japanese. And I think I do have this in Japanese. I think so. I think it's in my collection and I can't get access to it, so I can't get the actual Japanese versions. But it would be, if it has furigana, then it should be fine for me. But if it doesn't have furigana, then it's more difficult. Because just kanji on its own is tricky. I don't have all of the kanji knowledge. But generally when I can look at something that's written, I can generally tell what the Japanese was. Or what the Japanese should be. It's kind of easy for me to go English, okay, Japanese. From Japanese to English, yeah, pretty much. So I would be intrigued to watch the live action and to compare and contrast my memory of the scanlations, the translation from 2010 by Jocelyn Allen. And also to compare the Japanese that I can hear and also the subtitles. So that might be something that I do, because this actually reminds me also, this is another thing. So I have a reading vlog up on my Patreon, which is me rereading one of my favorite series that I was super excited to get the physical copies of, the With or Without series by J.L. Langley. And they had been republished with new cover artwork. But I recently got the old versions for the first and second in the series. I would still like to get the third one to complete the set in the old versions. And that's because in this reading vlog, which is up on my Patreon, I discovered, whilst reading the second book, that I had in my collection that I was so happy to have. It wasn't the same story. It had been edited massively by the author, and so much of the story had been altered and changed, and there was a massive subplot going on that maybe J.L. Langley had felt uncomfortable with, but it had been rewritten and changed, and it felt like I was being gaslit, because I was reading a story thinking, hold on, this isn't the story that I read when I was younger. This doesn't have the same feelings. There's something missing. There's something wrong. There's something different. It's not right. There's something not right. There's a feeling of not rightness. And I had to then go look it up and be like, hold on, there's this. And that's when I found out, oh, it's completely different. And so that's why I went out actively searching for physical copies of the old books, because I needed to be able to read the version that still rings true in my heart. And that's the same with this one, unfortunately. And you might say, it's because you read it in scanlations and that's your own fault. Okay, fine, fair enough. But I think if you were reading this story now, if you get the physical volumes, it's probably not going to be... And I think they are going to reprint these. Sorry, guys. If they're using the same translation of it, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's fluently English. It doesn't feel like it flows. And it doesn't feel like it accurately represents the story in the way that is impactful from when I read it in scanlations. It doesn't have the same impact because I'm sitting there going, huh? What? Eh? So yeah, I'm sorry. I have to be honest. I have to be honest about this. So yeah, I mean, if you can get a copy of No Touching at All, sure, of course, it's Yoneda Co. I will 100%, go and support Yoneda Co. Go and get this book. But I'm just saying, it's not as good. I don't know who it was that was doing it, the scanlation. Was it that one? What's it called? Dangerous Pleasures? Dangerous Pleasures. Hey, I was a connoisseur. I knew my scanlation shit. I was actually doing like a study. It was like a personal study an academic study of scanlation drama across social media, that I was going to maybe use as a basis for a possible PhD study back in around this time, around 2010, 2011. I was really interested in how scanlation groups in the BL community interacted with each other and with fans. That was what I was going to be looking at, which I guess would be I don't know how you would term it now, because it would be like social media would be a much more prevalent aspect to it now. And also the whole piracy aspect. You know, there was different things. I was really interested in the culture. I'm interested in BL fans just as much as I'm interested in BL. I'm interested in BL culture just as much as I'm interested in BL. So yeah, that was one of the things that I was interested in. So I think it was Dangerous Pleasures. Is that what it's called? Dangerous Pleasures? Because I always remember it was kind of a bit like Guilty Pleasure, the group that did the manga that I haven't got a copy of in those words. Yeah, I need to get one. Anyway, I now really want to watch the live action drama of this, but I also really want to just read the next book. But I'm gonna have something to eat first. I have some fancy things. Oh, I have some chips, like chippy chips, and some dips, actual chips and dips. So I might have something like that. This is a little, I'm gonna be honest, a bit disappointing, because it just didn't hit. Didn't give me that dopamine hit that the other, it, maybe because I'm reading it and being able to pick out differences, and maybe being able to say, oh, hold on, this doesn't feel right, or that doesn't flow, because of my natural proofreading, and also the fact that I have such an incredible memory when it comes to certain things, like, oh, I remember what this scanlation was like. Yeah, because, you know, it is unfortunate that this just didn't hit the same way. But I think, hopefully, fingers crossed, Even So I Will Love You, will, I don't know, maybe, we shall see. Oh dear, I'm gonna get cancelled now, haven't I? So I've got quite a beige dinner tonight. It's mainly just snacks, and I probably won't eat all of this, because I've got my dips. Woo woo! I got a wee dip tray with lots of dips, so I'll probably just be dipping these in. I do have an audiobook that I'm probably going to listen to as well, because I don't want my lovely manga to be anywhere near these dips. So I'm gonna have something to eat first, and then I'm probably gonna just start on it, because I want to get started. I might not finish it today, but I'll check in with you guys when I've read a bit of it after I've eaten some of these delicious things. What have I got? Cocktail sausages. I think these are cheesy things, sausage rolls, and I think these are like mini Scotch eggs. I do have some vegetables and salad and stuff in my fridge. I could eat, but this is what I have and what I've cooked. So I'm gonna just eat them now. They're not terribly healthy looking, but yeah, my dips, I'm gonna look forward to those. They're gonna be good. So yeah, I'll probably listen to a wee bit of audiobook while I'm having my dinner. Good morning, it's the next day. I know I do this all the time. So I was going to start this last night, but I noticed that there were highlights from the NHL game. Is it the third round? Is it the Las Vegas Golden Knights, and was it Dallas Stars? I think so anyway. So yeah, I ended up watching some highlights instead, and by the time I stopped watching that, it was like 9:30 or something. I was exhausted and I just went to bed. So yeah, it's morning now, and for breakfast, for shame, I'm having a piece of cake. I'm having cake and coffee. This is a coffee and walnut cake, and I had it for ages, and I sliced it up into different slices, and I put them like in the freezer and stuff. But this one I'd taken out of the freezer. So it's ready to be eaten. It needs to be eaten. So that's what I'm having for my breakfast. And I think I will just continue to read a bit of this. I also have, unfortunately, my flowers are looking a bit worse for wear, but I actually have a bunch that looks exactly like this that my brother gave me for my birthday. It was a few days ago. And so I'm probably going to take these out, refresh them, and put in a new bunch. So that's what I'm going to do today. But first of all, I'm going to start this. It's going to be good. I just finished this first one, which is Even So, I Will Love You Tenderly. And I kind of feel like I should explain that this first chapter was created just for this volume, this bind up. The first thing that she wrote about these characters was after 9 hours, and then followed that doujinshi with after 10 hours, and then the other two, A World with Color Part 1 and Part 2, which were quite a bit after. So she had these 4 doujinshi, and then to create this volume, she's added the first chapter and then the other one, Kind Lies Do Not Bear Fruit, with an extra as well. Because she pretty much made a whole volume of enough work to be able to put into a whole volume anyway, with the 4 doujinshi. Which I did mention. I just wish I could get them. They're somewhere in my collection. They're somewhere in my collection in one of those damned boxes. And they were expensive. They were expensive. Oof, oof. But so for me, reading this first chapter, I am 100% invested in it because this is the only time when this was created. To see this, and it was weird because it was like this was the start of their friendship. This is when they first met, and you get a lot more of Deguchi behind the scenes, because when you read After 9 Hours, it's coming at it from a perspective of, you know, Onoda, you don't know Deguchi, which I'm about to read, and I'm like, oh, because it gives me the feels. It gives me the feels. And when you know Deguchi, he's such a great character. I love him. He's so complex for being someone who is pretty straightforward. He's also, he's like an onion. He's got layers. I love that he's in a suit all the time. So sexy. But then when he's out of a suit, he looks like like maybe in his 20s, and that's how him and Onoda have the start of their friendship. I love that we get this intro to Deguchi and we know what he's like. So he's very conscious of being a gay man and keeping it hidden, but he's also out there loud and proud in the gay community and getting it on and enjoying himself. I'm very much aware of Shima in the company and how... So it's like taking it back in time. So this first chapter is like before No Touching at All has even taken place. This first chapter, Even So I Will Love You Tenderly, Even So I Will Love You Tenderly, is... This is like the first, so chronologically this is the first chapter you could or should read if you wanted to do it like as a weird chronological thing. So yeah, After 9 Hours was the one we got, which I'm about to read. I'm kind of excited. But this I love because this is the moment when he's like, oh, it's okay, my treat, and then he has to say how old he thinks he is because he does look so much younger. But yeah, we get introduced to Shima at the company and what he's been going through, and you get Deguchi's perspective, which is like, he kind of feels like it's Shima's fault for being the way he is, his personality, but also for choosing, he eventually finds out later in this chapter, choosing to date someone at work who is, to all intents and purposes, heterosexual. Because of course, as we know, bisexuality is not a thing. Bi erasure. But if you are bisexual in Japan, maybe you would just choose to date women because it's easier. In Japanese society, it is easier. And if you're a gay man and you have been in a relationship with someone who is bisexual, and then I mean, that's almost like, that's a standard thing in a lot of BL stories, it starts with a breakup of someone being in a relationship and then them finding out that the person that they loved is actually going to go and marry a woman, is breaking up with them or is not breaking up with them, and just is like, oh yeah, I'm getting married next week. You know, it's like something like, hold on, we've just had sex. It's kind of one of those things. Or it's they're getting married, but they're getting married to the boss's daughter, because of course that's always one. So the whole thing about if you're bisexual, you will eventually choose a woman thing is, unfortunately for some gay men in Japan, probably a kind of accurate thing. And even if they're not bisexual, they might still choose to marry a woman because it's easy, which is a shame. Anyway, that's a tangent off the tangent, but it is one of those things that there is a bit of bisexual erasure in this story, because he even says, is he heterosexual? This was great though. When he first sees Onoda, he's basically saying Kuma isn't his type. My type is more, you know, like, and then he turns around and there's Onoda, you know, glasses kun. And it's just great. I love this story because it was so new and refreshing when it first came out, and it was like, oh, this is the background. This is how they met. This is how they became friends. And then you start to realize, like, this is the build-up of Deguchi's feelings, which we never got before. So it's really important. This is an actual seriously important chapter for their whole story, because you get to see, oh, this is a great scene. So Onoda's ill, and Deguchi sees him at the train station after having just learned that Shima's boyfriend at work, who has been bullying him at work, is someone who was originally or thought of as heterosexual, but hey, bisexual. And he's like, you know, what an idiot, why did he do that? And then of course he bumps into Onoda, like, I would never I would never fall for a heterosexual man. And there he's like, because he's denying it. He's wanting to deny it. He's wanting to say this is just a friendship, this is just a friendship. He doesn't want to admit that he feels anything for him. And he takes him home and he gives him some medicine and some Pocari Sweat. It's like Lucozade in the UK. I have no idea what your equivalent would be in America or in other countries. But if you're sick, if you're ill, if you go into hospital or anything, if you get a cold or the flu, a bottle of Lucozade. If you're hungover, a bottle of Lucozade. I actually don't like it, and I'm in Scotland, and so for Scottish people, it's generally Iron Brew. But if you're in the rest of the UK, it's probably Lucozade. But yeah, Scotland, it's Iron Brew. Don't know why. It's sweet and it's fizzy. But yeah, he stays, and then he makes this offhand comment of, oh, you should get your girlfriend. And then as he's trying to walk out the door, he's like, oh yeah, we broke up. And that's him. He can't leave now. He comes back and he sits down, and it's this moment when he's fallen asleep, and he holds his hand because he was jealous of him holding his girlfriend's hand, and then he just is there saying, oh, like, it's just the littlest thing. It's just the littlest thing, and it just breaks my heart. I love it. I love it. She's so good. Yoneda is so good. She's so good. Look at his face. Oh, I love Deguchi. And then this conversation when it's a passage of time, and the Shima has now started, and so this is after the first chapter of this one. You know this is happening. So this is the break. So if you wanted to, you could read that. And then they're having this discussion about how he's like, oh yeah, I'd do Shima. All of that now. And there's Deguchi just standing there going, well, fuck. So yeah, I'm going to continue reading this. I'm going to finish my coffee because it's going to get cold. And there is something I want to do, but I do want to just keep reading. so I'm probably just gonna keep reading. Okay, so I just finished after 9 hours. It's so good. It's so good. It's so short. Because it is a doujinshi length, so it is going to be short. But you basically get all of this from Onoda's perspective, and he's kind of berating himself for having feelings for Shima, but also having his heart broken, not really wanting to acknowledge that it was fully love, and then he ends up getting the message from Deguchi about having lunch, and they have lunch, and Deguchi just listens to him, and then he kind of pours his heart out, like, this is how I'm feeling, and which is a big deal, I think, for someone to acknowledge. But because he had that conversation with them before about Shima-kun, and he was kind of okay with it, and he knows, and he hasn't shown any overt, homophobia or anything. He's been kind, and he knows Deguchi as a kind person, and he has at least that kind of connection with him, which is great, because the layers to this story, I love it. He trusts him to tell him this aspect of himself, and then he says that he's not sure if he has feelings for him because he knows that he's gay, and that if that is the case, then it's kind of conniving. So Onoda's like, I don't want to be conniving about it. And all this time you're just looking at it from Onoda's perspective, because as a doujinshi, that's all you got. But you knew Onoda, so you were reading it from Onoda's perspective. And then right at the end, this scene, this moment, just, I think, rocked everyone's world. And then you have to go back and you reread the doujinshi again, looking for the subtleties of emotion from Deguchi, because you didn't know anything about Deguchi. It was the biggest twist. It was the biggest, epicest twist ever. And it just made everyone just go, what? And I absolutely loved it, because the raw emotion that you see in someone's in the way that he's holding his body and the tension, and you can see how much it means to have just had that call and to be shaking, and you just, like, it was at that moment that everyone in the world is like, oh my god, I've fallen in love with Deguchi. Like, we loved Onoda, but at that moment it was like, oh my god, I just fell in love with a character. What happened? So yeah, it was like everyone's like, we're rooting for you now, we're rooting for you, because we wanted Onoda to have some love, because he was a great character in No Touching at All. And then we're like, yay, his person. So yeah, I'm sorry, it's really short. I'm gonna have to keep on going. That's just what's gonna have to happen. So I've got a wee visitor. This is a different cat. I am the cat lady of the neighbourhood, who doesn't actually have any cats, but who seems to collect them. Because I give you ham and things, don't I? You want a wee bit of sausage? A wee bit of sausage. I can probably give you a wee bit of sausage. Oh, yes. We call this one Felix. We don't know his name, actually, but he now is called Felix. He was adopted next door, because the family that he lived with in the neighbourhood left, and they left him behind. And so he came and was a bit scraggly, but super friendly, and he knows what fridges are for. Don't you? You know what fridges are for, don't you? And he's super, super friendly, and he's good with kids. So when my niece came up to visit, he was really gentle with her. So, meow, meow. Want some sausage? Want some sausage? He's purring very gently. Okay, let's give you some sausage, eh? Is that nice? Oh, is that all you want? So that was my little cat break. I put him back outside. The bells for the church, or the kirk, I should say, because I live right next to a kirk, were ringing for a service, and he got really interested because, I don't know, cats and churchyards and things kind of go together. Maybe it's the resonance of the bells And because I live so close, he was like, oh, I want to go back outside again. So yeah, I'll continue with this. Oh, it's a good one. So good. I love it. So after 10 hours is the second little doujinshi that we got, which showed a little bit more. And this one was almost exclusively from Deguchi's perspective. And that way we got to know him as a character. I mean, the first chapter is great because it really does encapsulate everything that's going on. So it's really hard to put this across to people who didn't start this, who just got this volume and read it. This is so hard to actually put across to people like what it was like to get the doujinshi or to see the scanlations. Because I'm not gonna lie, that's how we read them. And it was a doujinshi as well, which is it's another weird piracy thing. It's a whole other extra dimension to the piracy arguments and debate. Anyway, so this was the second one. So we finally got to know Deguchi and all of the little things that he did and said, knowing we know that he is in love with Onada. Onada is just like la 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 la. He has no idea. And then he kind of, pretends to ask him out in a jokey way. But because it's jokey, he doesn't take it seriously. And then he finds his ashtray, which is packed full of cigarettes because he's been waiting for him, because he's always waiting for him. And then when he sees him, he's like, hold on, it wasn't a real a real proposal of dating, was it? And then he gives him all of this, like, oh no, I'm only joking, blah, blah, blah. But he's like, doesn't want to talk to him and starts walking away. And he's like, no, we haven't finished this conversation yet. And starts running. And he's running after him. It's so stupid. And the whole bumping into oh my God, that is, like, I remember reading this and thinking, how relatable. If you've ever accidentally knocked into a bike and have them all just domino, it is the worst. But it's also hilarious if someone else is there or doing it. And I just, honestly, anytime I saw anyone do this, I just came over and started helping them. I couldn't stop myself. I was like, and of course, being a foreigner as well, they're like, even more shocked that this foreign person is just like, tetedai yo, daijoubu, watashi mo. Like, yeah, I did that too. It's fine. I'll help. So yeah, it's just one of those things that does happen. You're lucky if it's just like a small short section where it's like 5 bikes. But I've seen at the train station, it was a Nijo train station, and they have this bike section where you can park your bike up, and it does cost money, I think, or at least it did. But then everyone would just park their bike anywhere near the station to avoid having to pay. And to clamp down on it, they actually did just remove bikes and then give people fines. But before they did that, people would just park bikes, and it was this big like circular road, and then they had these, barriers just like this, almost exactly the same. And all the way around would be bikes. And someone had accidentally knocked them, and like a domino all the way around, and it was epic. There must have been like 100 bikes. All just on and they just walked away. So people were looking at it going, oof, good luck trying to find your bike in that. I loved it. I need to go back. It'll be a different experience, I know. But anyway, that's so relatable. Anyway, the emotional weight of this moment is when this is the point when they're still trying to have this conversation, but he's like, I don't want to have this conversation. I don't want to do this. And then as soon as Onada says sorry, you can see the look in his face, and you know what's going on inside his head and in his heart. And it's like, okay, time to put the shutters down. Time to harden your heart. Time to just own up to it and show that confidence that you were talking about in the first chapter, because that's your personality. That's who you are. You show confidence. You're like, don't give a shit. This is who I am, and also this is where you get your heart broken, because it's all ready. Just accept it, move on. It's like, you know, all of this is going through his head at that moment in time. And that's the realization moment for Deguchi in this chapter. This tiny little doujinshi that is packed full of emotion. But then when he's trying to leave and he says, that's it, we're not having, you know, anything to do with each other anymore. This is the moment when Onoda's like, hold on, this guy has been all of this to me and I don't want to lose him. And look how much, you know, cigarettes are in his ashtray, his like personal ashtray thing, and that's him just sitting at my door. How much does this guy actually fucking love me? How much has he cared? How much has he always been the one to wait for you, Onoda? And you're just Onoda. And it's like, the emotional weight of these two moments in this tiny little doujinshi just packs a punch. It's like, concentrate. And then you get this moment when he's talking about kissing him and he's like, ah! I love the two characters when one of them is supposed to be so confident, so forward, and is like the one that will make the other one uncomfortable, the stoic one, the quiet one. And then when the stoic and quiet one says, oh yeah, okay, let's kiss, and then the one who's overly confident is like, ah, what are you talking about? It's such a great moment. You know, the whole couple dynamics that were going around Twitter with the little like marshmallow people, and you're just like, person A is like this and person B is like this, and I just love it. And that's the moment. This is exactly that moment. And then he just goes in for the kiss, and it's such a beautiful panel. I love it. I love it. And it's that little, so soft. So soft. Ah! Squeal! Squeal! My heart is squealing. So yeah, it's he even comes back and helps him. Fugu, you owe me fugu. Fugu's the type of fish that you have to be very careful about not getting poisoned. Yeah, so it's expensive. It's not actually that expensive. There's loads of places you can get fugu in Japan. I haven't had it as far as I know, but I've eaten a lot of things I didn't know what it was. I was just like, put this in your mouth. Let's make the foreigner eat weird stuff like sea cucumber ovaries. Did not see that coming, but that's one of the things I ate. I gave it a go. It was fine. It was kind of the way they cooked it, or the way they presented it, or maybe just the way it was kind of like jerky. So there you go. Anyway, I'm going to take a break before this. I will probably need some proper food, but I also want to sort my flowers out. So I'm going to have a wee break, because like I said, I want to do this taking my time. It's so good though. So good. I love this. So these are the flowers that I got. They do look almost the exact same, but they've been sitting out for a couple of days and I haven't been feeding them. And that's also, it's quite hot and warm and humid now, so that's probably not going to keep my flowers as long as I would want them to, lasting wise. But hopefully this will help. And I'll just kind of amalgamate the ones that are okay still. I don't know how good these are, because they look lovely, but when I open them up they might not be, just because they've been sitting in water for a few days. I haven't gotten around to sorting them out. And for some reason, I think it's the moisture and everything, there is a tendency to for things to wilt, and also you can see it's like they're getting a bit crusty. So let's see these. Probably don't look good. So yeah, I'm gonna sort these out. So I think I prefer them without all the greenery, because the greenery is not as green as it should be, and I kind of like it just without. Like that one looked okay when it had all the, and I will have to go through that one and see if I can salvage a bit of my old my old scabby one. But this one just looks so bright and vibrant without the green. I like it better. This one's not looking quite as happy, this wee one. But the rest of them are looking pretty good. So I'm really happy about this. It looks lovely. But yeah, the greenery did not soak up as much water as it probably needed to be able to stay fresh. And so the little leaves are just falling all over the place. So yeah, I'm going to sort this one out as well. So that one kind of amalgamated. All of this is just to go out in the bin because most of it's a bit bad. Probably should have changed the water a few more times. But yeah, so they're looking very nice, amalgamated. I've enjoyed having them, but I do like the colour scheme. It's quite nice. So I've got a wee mini one and another bigger one, which is quite nice. I quite like it. So yeah, I'm going to have a wee bit of a break. There's something I need to do, and then I'm going to watch something, and then some lunch afterwards, and then we'll continue with the reading. But don't they look nice? So bright and summery, in total contrast to the day, which is cloudy and grey, and it's been raining in the morning. So you need the flowers in your life. So I've slightly moved location. I'm on my computer just now, and I'm just moving some files around, but I knew it was going to take a bit of time because they're quite big files, so I thought I would just read the next one. And A World with Colour Part 1. Oh, it's Onoda kind of starting to open up to the idea of Deguchi as being something more than just the friend that he's been, and being more conscious and a bit more self-conscious and looking into how, you know, gay sex is, and then he goes to Deguchi's house to clean, and he actually has to clean, and then he has a meal and everything's fine, but there's just this sort of like building tension, and then he tries to broach the subject about like, oh, staying the night and spending time the next day, and honestly, the emotional whiplash you get in this scene when you're bouncing back and forth, it feels like you're there witnessing an argument, because you're like, yeah, you're on that person's side, and then suddenly you're like, oh no, no, I'm on that person's side, and oh no, well, they've got a point, and it literally is a back and forth between who you feel more for. And like you would in a normal argument between a couple, you end up everyone just feels shit at the end of it. You're like, oh, I feel bad for everyone. I feel bad for everyone, including me. And that's kind of what happens. So they have this kind of argument about it, and it's about taking it to the next level, and it is about sex, and it's also about expectations, and but it's a bit back and forth, that the argument, and it just ends with Onoda being a little bit more like, maybe my feelings are stronger than I thought they were, because when confronted with the idea of Deguchi not being, you know, meek and demure and chaste, because he hasn't said, hey, let's be something more. He doesn't feel terribly comfortable about that, and he doesn't really know why, and then he kind of has to deal with that. Hold on, do I have a right to feel this way, or should I just accept that this is how I'm feeling? It's so good, So I'm probably going to continue, because I've got 22, I don't know, it's like 50 odd gigabytes. It's a big file. It's like so many gigabytes. It used to be, I put all the 1330 vlogs together in one file, so that's a lot. 50 something gigabytes that has to be transferred over to my external hard drive off of my computer. My computer is really slow just now. So I will probably just read part 2, and then I think I'm going to have some soup, because I've got the last of my soup, and I might make more of it actually. And I think I got a chicken sandwich as well. So that's going to be what I'm eating. But I'm going to read A World with Colour Part 2 first. So I heated up my soup. I've got the hot water on so I can have a bath, because it's just one of those kinds of days. And I've got a chicken mayo sandwich to have along with it. But I'm going to push it out of the way so that I can actually talk about this book. Because I got to the end of, so I got to kind lies do not bear fruit. So this is like the big one because this was kind of like the culmination of her 4 doujinshi series, A World with Color Part 2. And so in this you have the aftermath of their fight and some more heartbreaking interactions where you're like, no, just listen to each other or be honest or talk properly. And they do eventually do that, and it is quite beautiful and sweet. I do think this is the moment here that the translation, I can't help it, guys. This is the thing, and I think this whole video comes down to it. If you read something in one translation and then you read it in a different translation, how you feel about it changes immensely. And I do think translation is absolutely 100% key. It really does change your perception, especially if you read something some way first. And I think it's always Yoneda Ko's works that seem to be the one in terms of BL, how we, like the most quoted work that's been scanlated and read and disseminated throughout the fandom, or the BL fandom, and then published in English with an English translation that everyone is like, the scanlation was better. And it is a Yoneda Ko title, and it is the Twittering Birds one when he says, what do you want for breakfast? And it's the soft caseless wiener. I want a soft caseless wiener. If you say that to people just randomly, BL fans will know. BL fans will know exactly what you're talking about. And it wasn't translated like that, but it was such an iconic translation. It transcended. I think this needs to be something we talk about more, that translation does make a difference. And Yoneda Ko, here again, has this back and forth dialogue between the two characters, but if one person is saying it versus the other person saying it, it changes the meaning slightly. It changes how the dialogue goes. It changes how the scene feels. And this was definitely translated slightly differently in this volume than it was in the scanlated doujinshi. And I really need to go and find mine so that I can read them and be like, which one do I agree with? Which one do I feel is more accurate? It is interesting, but it's a beautiful scene and it's a really sweet scene, and it's the scene when Onada finally kind of goes, yeah, I have feelings for you, and we are now dating, kind of thing. And it's the poignant moment, and it's super cute, and the little kiss. And then you get this extra afterwards, because this would be like, this is the sex scene. This is the moment. And even in this one, there's a lot of funny things about assumptions. It's very much, I didn't mention this before as well, but there's a scene, and I have to show it probably, when Deguchi talks about them not quite getting along. There's still a bit of friction there. So this is the moment when he's like, yeah, I don't want to, this is the position I would like to have. This is the kind of sex I would like. This is how I want it. And that wasn't what Onada was expecting. And so there's a fade to black and a little gulp, which I loved. And then this extra page did not exist in the doujinshi. And then this page did. So it kind of faded to black and you were like, boom. And then there was the little scene of him thinking about what had just happened. It just was so impactful. This was so impactful because that other page wasn't there. It didn't exist. So, yeah, there's definitely some changes made in this one, but not massively. The whole point is that Deguchi is still, even afterwards, still feeling grateful, but also apprehensive and unsure, unconfident about the relationship. Although Onada's like, wow, that was hot. Which is great. So yeah, I've got the rest of this, Kind Lies Do Not Bear Fruit, which was all new for this volume. but I have my soup to eat first, so I'm going to have my soup and then we'll finish this off. I think this whole video, every video I do, it brings up more things to discuss than just the work itself. And this reading vlog, I didn't expect to bring up something that I don't talk about a lot, and that is the importance, or the impact, I should say, the impact of scanlated translations and their sort of, I don't know how to say that, like their heavy weight within the fandom world, because nothing will ever beat Soft Caseless Wiener. It's up there, and unfortunately I don't think the official translation would be able to use that, but everyone is like, damn, why didn't they? So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one anyway, because that's the thing, like this, there's nothing for me to compare it to, so I can only enjoy it for what it is. And that's the thing about multiple translations of a work. Sometimes it doesn't always work out the same. So there you go. Anyway, soup and sandwich for, it's going to end up being my dinner, I think. It's quite late in the afternoon, or maybe even evening by now. So this is my dessert. I'm gonna see if I can just take my time and finish reading the last of this volume. I've got some lovely lemon cheesecake and some fresh and frozen fruit, and also a sort of peach and hibiscus tea with lemonade. So hopefully that'll be tasty too. And just enjoy this, and then I'm probably gonna have a bath later tonight. So yeah, I'm just gonna enjoy my evening, finish off my buddy read. So I didn't get very far with my cheesecake and my I don't know what you call it, peach and hibiscus lemon. It was delicious. It really is tasty. I'll probably be making that again. But I did finish Even So I Will Love You Tenderly. The last chapter is very much about Deguchi's insecurities. That's, I think, the best way to describe it. He's still feeling insecure. He does make reference to them being straight and gay, and the bisexual erasure is there. But you can kind of understand from this perspective that, I don't know, because I don't do relationships, so I don't know. As a gay man, I was listening to some, this is just off topic, but kind of on topic, was listening to some comedians and a podcast and stuff, and there was generally this laughing and joking about what you are, and people were talking about their sexuality, and overall it was just like, hold on, is bisexuality not a thing? And I think that even within the LGBTQIA plus community, bisexuality is kind of just made a bit of a joke about, and which is odd, because when you think about it, everyone's a little bit bi, right? Everyone's a little bit bi. You're not, it's a spectrum, you know? So I do kind of feel like the bisexual erasure is just a thing. It's not a great thing, but anyway. So this is definitely the root of Deguchi's insecurities, is the fact that Onada is just such a nice guy. He's a nice guy. And he also still works with Shima-kun, who he kind of was kind of the And this is the thing about Onoda. Like, he had a crush on Shima-kun. He actually did have feelings for him. And now he's going out with Taguchi, having sex and all of that. So it's not just like a one-off. It was very much yeah, he can swing that way too. Like, he is bisexual. We know this. But yeah, that means that Taguchi is even more insecure about things. Like, if he's getting the number, you know, women giving him his number and not being aware of his own attractions, things that make him attractive qualities, that's the word. And they have this big argument, and once again, so I did mention this in the Punch Up vlog, it is a bit toxic to ask someone a question when you know the answer already. It's kind of toxic, and Taguchi did this, but you know what, he did it, he caused the argument, but then he got called out on it, and I'm like, good for you, Onoda. Maybe not slapping him well. He gave me slap. Taguchi's like not having it. Because he was just getting so frustrated. But even so, you should not do that, Onoda. But he did say let's break up, and he's just like, snap out of it. Snap out of it. So yeah, this is a very realistic type of fight though. It's very realistic. And then they start apologising for everything. And he didn't realise it was his birthday. He totally forgot. Onoda, of course, remembered, because it's Onoda. He would. He's such a good boyfriend. And I like that here he says, it's Taguchi who says he wants to tell Shima, because that was the other thing, he didn't introduce him as his boyfriend, but he was like, well, I can't out you, that's your choice. And so instead of Onoda saying, can I tell him then? Here it's Taguchi saying, is it okay if I tell him that we're going out? And there's this little thought, but yeah, I also, so he knows you're mine. And then they have some smexy times, which is just delicate and sweet and lovely. And then they go for their meeting, and who pitches up behind them but Togawa, who no one knew was coming. Taguchi's just having the time of his life, having a good laugh, because at that point Onoda then has to come clean and introduce him as his boyfriend, so that they all know. So Onoda's coming out and Taguchi's coming out, and it's all a thing, and it's kind of embarrassing. And then they have this little extra of them just becoming a couple, and I just love this, because it's going to mean, you know, this is just the start. It's like, this is the first dinner of the four of them, and I just know 100% that they're probably going to end up having, they're either never going to have dinner again together, or they're going to have dinner again together a lot. It's going to be one or the other. It won't be every once in a while. It's either going to be they get on really well, or they literally just try and avoid having this situation again. It's one or the other. But I can see Togawa and Taguchi getting on really well. Just Shima has to up his game a little bit more, and Onoda will be there to make sure, which will then infuriate Taguchi, which is probably why it won't happen. But it did make me feel good. And then, like I said, how they kind of cross over. So Yoneda was saying how this all came about from the doujin. It was 2008 to 2009, those four. Wow. But chronologically, it goes even so, 2 years later, the beginning of No Touching at All, and then the end of Even So, and then 1 year later it's After 9, and a few months later it's Kind Lies. So, as she says, nothing dramatic, nothing all that painful, and no particularly surprising incidents. I hope you like the subtlety of it. And that's why I think this is a really great work. This is her drawing possible cover art, and that's what it was. Oh, so good. But it's completely different, but at the same time it's like so nice. And that's what I like about this one, and this is the one that she herself was kind of like, isn't it a little bit too sweet and cute. And a lot of people were like, well, you can do that. It's fine. It's fine if you do that. You know, not everything needs to be as painful as twittering birds. And No Touching at All has the whole, traumatic background and, bullying within your relationship and all that. That's kind of heavy. Whereas Even So is the absolute lightest of light. There's quite a difference in size there. Because, there's pining. Gay pining. God, I love gay pining. Gay pining and bisexual awakening. That's what's in here. That's what I love. In here as well, there is a bisexual awakening, but it happens pretty fast. Togawa is he's a fast mover. He basically is like, this cutie patootie that I now have to work with, I'm gonna have a piece of that. It's literally what he thinks. He's like, okay, I swing that way. Boom, like that. Like that. He has no problems at all with his bisexuality. Whereas here, there's certain tropes that I love. There's certain tropes that I absolutely love. Gay pining and bisexual awakening, the two of them together is an absolute fave. And I just now realised that that's what was in here. That's why I love it. That's why I love it. Because the pining and the pain of it, of unrequited love, and then the navigation between the states of unrequitedness to requitedness is just chef's kiss. And the fact that this, since 2008, wow, so that's a long time ago. Oh my god, what's that? 10 plus 2 is 12, 15 years. 15, oh my god. I've been in love with this story for 15 years. Wow. I have no word of a lie, because the very first doujinshi, it was just like, oh my god, that is just a masterpiece. And that's the thing, Yoneda, I will forever sing her praises. And I know so many people don't like Twittering Birds because of the whole yakuza, because of the sex, because of the violence, because of, especially with the background of some of the characters and their backstories, and then what happens going forward. It is tough. It's tough to read. Whereas this is Yoneda in a sliding scale of cuteness. This is the one that is the easiest and most palatable, and 100%. This one I would have been like, wow, it's my favorite, and then this came along. And I was like, yeah, this is it. So yeah, this is definitely my favorites. One of my favorites. I might have to do a favorites video. I was watching a few videos that came out recently. Izzy's one about statistics, which was great, and the Manga Pride readathon. And it was like friends' favorites. I thought maybe I could do a wee video, like a top 10. I've never done a top 10 before, and if I was, this would definitely be on it. In fact, together, can I just class these together? They would be in my top 10 for sure. But I'm not sure what would be in the other, what would be in the other spots. But this is definite. This is a definite. So yeah, I'm just going to finish it here, because I have had a very good time just reading these. Not doing very much, so it's kind of a boring vlog. It's probably still going to be way too long because I talk too much. And I really did just go through chapter by chapter. And I have cheesecake to eat, so I'm happy with that. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. I did. If you haven't got these already, keep your eye out, because like I said, they will be maybe, possibly, I don't know, announcing that they're doing reprints of these, so that people can get them. June Manga really just need to publish the things that they know they're going to be able to sell. And Yoneda works sell. Hands down, they're going to make money. What I'd love now is if they were to do the last couple of volumes of a certain series. If you know what series I'm talking about, there's a few contenders. Let's say there's a few contenders, but I'd love to know which June Manga series that you would like them to complete publishing. I have in my head, which I would choose if I was being able to choose any of them, which one they could finish off for me. So like choose a Japanese BL series that June Manga has been publishing, but has not completed, even though it is completed in Japanese. Answers in the comments. I want to know what you would like them to complete. That would be it. That's the question. Oh, that would be good, because that would be in my top 10 then otherwise. Oh, anyway, this has definitely brought up a few questions and things to discuss, like translations and scanlated versions versus and their impact within the BL psyche, but also like things like bi erasure and things like that. So yeah, this has been interesting. I've enjoyed it. I hope you did as well. A very kind of dull one maybe again, but hopefully it was okay. Thanks for watching to the end of this video. I hope you guys can get copies because they are wonderful, especially of Even So I Will Love You Tenderly. I know you can get them digitally otherwise, but it's nice to have your own copy, even if it's not quite the same translation that you fell in love with. So yeah, take care everyone, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!